So, narcissists will create a distorted version of you, and there's a specific reason. The reason a narcissist creates a distorted vision of you or version of you is to protect their ego from this idea that you're leaving them. You see, the worst thing that can happen for a narcissist is for you to decide to no longer to engage. Why is that true? Well, if you think about a narcissist lives in a false reality. And so do a lot of us. For instance, a codependent lives in a false reality. A codependent is somebody who survives by believing that one day there'll be enough for mommy to love. One day they'll figure out how to get their aloof father to pay attention to them. One day they'll be able to make their family whole. One day they'll figure it out. And codependents don't hear, I love you, I'm sorry, it's my job to protect you. How are you feeling? Generally, children who grow up in homes where they are emotionally neglected, or in the case of being the adult child of an alcoholic, and you come from a home in which, for instance, let's say mom was the alcoholic and dad was the codependent, dad did not shelter you from what you were seeing and witnessing with mom. Dad was unaware, maybe in his own drama and in his own emotional immaturity and aloofness or detached from the self. He was not aware of the consequences to the children, which is so typical in ACOA homes, adult children of alcoholic homes, or even the grandchildren of alcoholics. Those of us who are grandchildren of alcoholics, we were basically raised by parents who were alcoholics that just didn't drink. And so they were not emotionally intelligent. They're not emotionally aware. They're going through all the emotions. They live in their heads thinking, "Oh, I should go to work and oh, I should pay this bill and my kids should live here and oh, my kids should do this and oh, my kids should do that." But there was no emotional connection. Why? Because there was no emotional connection to their parents. And so we grew up feeling very disconnected from the family and ourselves. And then what ends up happening is because we have this lack of selfhood and because we've been taught that the answer is to morph into a pretzel to make others love us or to be good enough, we live in this false reality. We live with under a false veil. We live under a mask, very much like narcissists do, albeit for different agendas. It's like if we were a stick, they'd be on one side and a codependent would be on the other side. We're trying to find the middle. We're trying to strike the balance between a healthy sense of self or healthy narcissism where, oh, I matter. Doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody else, but I have needs too. And in the framework of a healthy relationship, I'm able to say that and I'm able to express that. And if I have a healthy partner, they can receive that and they have empathy for it and it's reciprocal. And so a narcissist needs to create this false perception of you or false version of you when you get to a point where you say no more. When you decide I want off this codependent, crazy making relationship. I recognize that it's the wounds of childhood. I'm just recycling them. I feel invisible. I feel unheard. I'm in a one-way relationship. All I do is give and give and give. I'm not seen. I'm not appreciated. It's just expected that I just be giving and giving and giving. I need help. No one's there. I break my leg. No one's there. I go through a divorce. No one's there. Oh, wow. Like you're starting to see the narcissists in your life, whether it's your siblings or it's your mother and father or whoever, your friends. If you're in a romantic relationship and you're getting sick of the one-way dynamics or you're getting sick of how you've been gaslit, you're getting sick of like the twistings of the stories and the emotional warfare and the overgeneralizations and the poor me and the self-pity, the grandiosity and your loyalty being questioned and you're walking around on eggshells, there's just so much of that heavy energy that your body can withstand before it starts to revolt. I've been there. My body revolted in a big way, and it was my wake up call. And that's why my podcast is called Breakdown to Breakthrough, because it was these breakdowns, and I've had many of them, I must say. It wasn't just one. They were physical breakdowns. They were spiritual breakdowns. They were emotional and mental breakdowns, like wrestling with deep, dark nights of the ego, just wrestling and wrestling and wrestling. And so it's important that we realize that if you are operating from below the veil, then you're going to be operating from that false reality. And who do you tango with? Other people who are wearing a mask, other people who are also below the veil. As you start to awaken, you that veil is just too heavy. You're just like, I have to tell the truth now. I have to start telling the truth. So a codependence, very interesting. Until we awaken, we don't like what's happening in our lives, but we're not willing to throw a monkey wrench into it either. So we know that our mothers are passive aggressive, but we don't say anything. We know that our sisters are very controlling. We don't say anything. We know that our brothers are grandstanding and they're grandiose and they play the pity game and poor me. We don't say anything. We know, but we don't say anything. So when we start to heal as codependents, we start to say things. And that's when the narcissists in our lives, like, holy Hannah, they don't like it. What do you mean you're not coming for Mother's Day? What do you mean you're not coming to dinner with me to meet my boss? What do you mean you're not going to be there at my beck and call anymore? What do you mean you don't like the way I'm speaking to you? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And so what ends up happening with narcissists when the codependent starts to change is that's when they really start distorting their version of you. They do it because they need to preserve their perception of self. They cannot deal with, remember, they're pushing down their shadows. Healthy people embrace their shadows. Unhealthy people keep pushing down the shadows, push down the shadow, push down the shadow. And they protect the ego, or the ego protects the mind because the mind doesn't have enough sharp tools in the shed to process the fact that I have a facet of my personality that's controlling, or I have a facet of my personality that's mean. I have a facet of my personality that's manipulative. You see, if everybody's personality has those facets, it's the healthy people go, oh, wow, I shouldn't have done that. And they do better next time. They make amends and they're sorry. Narcissists, like you, the people who are really narcissistic in your life, you'll see this pervasive pattern. They do things, they say things, and it's always minimized. They focus on your reaction to what they said. So maybe you have an over-the-top reaction to someone who's been using you and manipulating you and just draining you for years, but they won't stop and ask themselves, why is this person who's always been so kind to me, why do they have such a strong reaction? No, that's when they start to literally build, like a video game character, they start to build another perception of you in their mind to preserve their false self. And they do this to self-preserve, and essentially it's because they're emotionally stuck, they're emotionally immature, they lack empathy, they really don't have the mental or emotional awareness to look within and to change. And at the end of the day, it's really sad because that's why narcissists always lose. They lose physically, they lose mentally, they lose spiritually, they lose friendships, they lose marriages, they lose relationships. The people that stick around because they're codependent or they're enmeshed or they're just in this toxic world where you have to move in unison with this narcissistic person. So there's a lot of emotional dependency, not a whole lot of individuality. Narcissistic relationships end up being built on scarcity and fear and anger and like a pack mentality, a wolf mentality where it's us against them, rather than this openness where everybody's allowed to be who they are, regardless of what they think and how they feel. We learn to eventually, on the path to emotional recovery, hopefully your spiritual path takes you to a place where you are far less resistant to what you can't control, and you approach it from a place of love and humanity versus fear and scarcity. So I just wanted to create a session around this concept because this question comes up a lot in my groups and in my personal coaching. It's like, why did this person have to smear my name? Why did this person who we we had a relationship, and while we were in the relationship, as long as I was saying yes, everything was fine. As long as I was being my codependent self, my false self, we were fine. But why did they have to go so hard on me when the relationship ended? Because you ending the relationship gives them the space to look at the self, and they don't like that. If you leave them, that means they're not so awesome. If you have the courage to keep walking, then they don't have the courage, the wherewithal to ask, why did this happen? They can't take the accountability for it. So to avoid that potential, to avoid that shame of you walking away, because that's what it means. If you walk away, that means that you're more powerful than I am. At least I would say in superficial consciousness, it's about power. Like it means that, you're more powerful than me and a narcissist can't take it. But deeper, what they avoid is if you walk away, that means that I'm no good. And I don't know how to integrate that because I'm not self-aware, because I'm not looking within, and because I have so much shame. And the way I manage it is by projecting it. I push it off. I don't fix it. I don't heal it. I create this false self that protects me from having to do that deep, deep dive. And so that is essentially why after a relationship ends, a narcissist has to create another persona for you in order to protect.
Hey, if you love this content, don't forget to check out the next video, and you can go to my website and take the codependency quiz.